empower men, to strengthen families, and to change communities.
Welcome to the Champions of Change podcast.
Hi, my name is Jim Durham. I am the gentleman responsible for the podcast setup and arrangement and recording. And I'm here with Jeff Sorrell. And welcome to the second episode of our podcast. Our guest today, Jeffrey, has been the director of the Life Enrichment Center for 19 plus years and is now the director and visionary behind Champions of Change. And we wanted to take a moment just to discuss what is Champions of Change all about and get to know Jeff's story. Let's dive right into Champions of Change and discuss that for a moment. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background that led you to Champions of Change?
Well, I've never known my real father. I lived on my grandfather's farm until I was about 4 or 5 years old. And at that point in time, my mother got married to the gentleman that I have his last name, Sorrell. And he was not a very good stepdad to me. He was, at the time, abusive, and he just couldn't find in his heart to love me as his own son. And so struggled with father issues my entire life, just about. But I started getting high at an early age, my early teen years. I witnessed a murder in the 4th grade of a neighbor, my next door neighbor. I've had a stint in prison for running a pharmacy without a license.
Wow.
And then once I committed my life to Christ in 1982, I was able to be involved in a lot of ministry. I never was the one that would just wanted to sit in church and do nothing. I wanted to be part of something. And so I cut my teeth on jail ministry, prison ministry, soup kitchens, food pantries, workhouse, and all of that eventually led to the start of the Life Enrichment Center.
So back up a moment. You became a Christian at what point?
In 1982.
When you were where?
Out in Denver, Colorado, at a Second Chapter of Acts concert.
Okay. I thought I picked up in prison at some point.
No.
Okay.
No, when I went to prison, I was still doing things I shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah, and we won't get into that in
was
great detail.
1978,
Yeah. Okay, so, a Second Chapter of Acts concert.
Right.
Okay, and so you said you are one who likes to get involved. So that first year, right away, you turned around and started investing your life into ministry of some sort?
In 1982, when I committed my life to Christ, shortly after that, we moved from Denver, Colorado back to Xenia, which is my hometown. And at that point in time, we had been going to a big Calvary Chapel church out in Denver. It was back in the early 80s. It was running over 2,000 people. I mean, it was a big church and a very involved church. They had something going on 7 days a week. I mean, it was not a church just was open on Sunday. It was open all the time, and they had all kinds of things going on. But I really wanted to be back home around my family. And so moved back to Xenia and started going to a little Assemblies of God church. And Assemblies of God church of 250 people, going from a big Calvary Chapel that was open all the time to a more traditional Assemblies of God, which is more of a Pentecostal church. Mm-hmm. But I started out from there, and I started a men's ministry at the church, and then got involved in ministry in nursing homes and ministry at emergency rooms, and from there, catwalk jail ministry, and that morphed into some prison ministry in the workhouse and county jail. I was a chaplain at Montgomery County Jail for about 5 years, taught firm foundation classes with my wife, Valerie. And so, and then in 2001, after the vineyard allowed me to start the Life Enrichment Center, and they supported my salary, and the Life Enrichment Center was a multi-ministry center that morphed into serving 600 to 800 people a week at its heyday, and we had all kinds of ministry going on. So, yeah, I've just always had a heart for the disenfranchised and those that are struggling with whatever the case may be. But in the bigger picture, it really all those ministries allowed me to really meet a lot of men and talk to a lot of men. I mean, when you're locked in a classroom with 30 convicts, you get to know people. And so I've always had a heart for men. And I found out real quickly, I was a youth pastor for a couple of years, and I found out real quickly that I'd rather be locked in a room with convicts than a bunch of middle schoolers. So so I've always done outreach ministry.
Okay. So you touched on something there that I can't help but dive into just because of the common interest you and I have. There's a movie called The Jesus Revolution, which I do believe you mentioned Calvary Chapel, right? Is that not part of the Chuck Smith
It is.
churches then?
Yes.
So, and that's where you saw the second chapter of Acts concert?
It was not at Calvary Chapel. It was
Okay.
it was at a venue out in Denver, and I don't remember off the top of my head where it was at, but yeah, my pastor out there, his name was Tom Stipe, and we had big names that would come and minister at the Calvary Chapel. And a lot of people may not recognize those names now, but in the Christian ministry, they were big names at the time.
Yeah, and Chuck was one of the ones who first opened the door to recognizing that this was speaking to the culture at the time. Right. And, if these people love the Lord and they want to use this music, let's open the door to them.
Yeah, Calvary Chapel was, it was put in the building that used to be Colorado's largest liquor store.
Oh, wow. And
they had an entire strip mall that they had something in every space of it that was, the whole strip mall was Calvary Chapel.
Okay.
And it was just a great place to be. And you'd pull up on any given day and there'd be 30, 40 motorcycles lined up on the sidewalk. And 2,300 people back then, which in the early 80s, that's a mega church.
Now, you and I were at the Vineyard when it was in a strip mall, and we made use of several of those spaces as well.
Exactly right, yeah.
Okay. So why Champions of Change? Why Champions of Change, and why now?
After 19 years at the Life Enrichment Center, not sure what I was going to do after I left there. I went to one particular position, was there for about a year total. And I was just looking for something else. And the Lord had kind of put it in my heart back in 2019. So two or 3 years before I ever left the Life Enrichment Center, this idea about Champions of Change and connecting with men, because I just think it's so important that men connect with one another. And it was at a time when I just think the Lord was preparing my heart for something different. When you spend that many years ministering to people who are really broken, and all of us are broken in different ways, but people who struggle with substance use disorder, people who have mental health issues, who are in a homeless situation, it's a hard ministry. It takes a lot out of you. And at the Life Enrichment Center, I was basically the executive director, but I was also pastor, principal, bouncer, forklift operator.
A lot of hats.
And I think all in all, I was looking for something a little less demanding and a little less stressful. And just having a heart for men and wanting to be a catalyst or a catalyzer, whatever the term may be, for connecting men and for us to use our gifts to serve the Lord and to grow closer to Him.
Okay, so a little less stressful, and then you invited me in and
shot everything to pieces.
Okay, so anyone who looks at the website will see, I believe right there at the very top, a phrase there: "See the need, be the change."
Right.
So why that phrase? Why is it there, positioned at the top of the website, and what does that mean for you?
I think too many times when people see needs, they figure someone else will take care of that. Someone else will do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we can come up with all sorts of reasons why when we see a need that we don't fill the need. But I think God's heart is to use his people to be his hands and feet. And when we have the opportunity to meet a need, we need to do that. Mm-hmm. And so that just came to me one day, see the need, be the change. And that's what I want us to be, is I want us to be change agents and be people who are willing to make a difference in somebody's life when we have the opportunity.
So with Champions of Change, what would you say are some of the goals or focus of Champions of Change?
Well, we have 3 main things that we're looking to accomplish. That is to empower men, mm-hmm. to strengthen families, and to change communities.
Okay, and anybody who looks at the website will see that you've got an acronym for Empower. And if you don't mind, I'll just read it real quick.
Sure.
Enlist others to join you in your journey with Christ. Mentor those God places in your path. Pray daily for wisdom, guidance, and direction. Overcome the obstacles of your past. Watch for opportunities to serve others. Expand your sphere of influence, and reclaim what has been stolen from you.
Right.
So that's kind of the gist of empowering men.
Yes.
You want to elaborate on empowering men? What does that mean to empower them beyond the acronym?
I think too many times we can get caught up in just life is hard. I mean, life is hard enough without God in your life. I can't imagine what it's like for people who don't have the faith component in their life. And so I'm interested in what can we do to encourage men to get beyond their work and their drive for success. And don't get me wrong. I think people should strive to do everything they do with excellence, and they should focus on things that they need to focus on in their life. But push come to shove, there's only 2 things you're going to take to heaven with you. You're going to leave here with nothing except your family and your friends. That's it. I mean, nothing else is coming with you. And so while it's important to do well in your job and to be a good employee, and it's good that you're involved in what other extracurricular activities, and I know people have families and they have children and they have sports events, and you should try to be involved in those things. But all of that can't be at the expense of not growing yourself in Christ and growing in your relationship with other men, because it's important that you have men that you can reach out to when you need help. If you need someone to keep you accountable for something, if you need someone who will help you with a difficult season in your life, or whatever the case may be. I mean, I love my wife with all my heart, but there's things that I don't want to talk to my wife about because she's not a man, obviously. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't know what it feels like to be a man no more than I know what it feels like to be a woman. And so it's important that you have men in your life who can understand what you're going through, or you can understand what they're going through, and that you can help them to navigate difficult situations. They can help you if they're struggling with addictions of whatever sort. You can use the experience maybe that you had in your past to help them deal with the situation that they're involved in. So right. That's why it's important.
Right. So I also see empowering as helping to provide the tools necessary for personal growth that help you excel in some of those areas.
Yeah, a vehicle to attain those things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And whether it be on a personal level, or whether it be physical. I mean, some of the things that we get involved in. There's the one experience we were helping to put in a fence at one point, and just the there was a new shiny tool that was there, a big giant tool, gas-powered tool, and several people very interested in learning and jumping in there and learning how to use that tool. And,
Right.
I think that's part of the empowering, because not everybody has had the dad experience to teach you everything you need to know about tools or cars or whatever. And so,
Yeah, I think that's very important that you bring that up, because if you grow up without a father in your life and you really don't have a male influence, you don't have anyone who is taken the time to show you how to, what's the right side of a hammer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's something as simple as that.
which one's the right type of hammer?
That's right. And so it's important that you're around a group of men who all have different experiences. They have different skill sets. And,
Right.
you know, we have people that are involved that are electricians, that are plumbers, that have all kinds of different backgrounds, welders. I mean, CAD operators, you name it. And so to get a bunch of men together and to be able to learn from people, other men is huge.
So I see these as building blocks myself. The next one being strengthening families. So how does Champions of Change help strengthen families?
Well, obviously, the important part of what we do as men is to grow in our relationship with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And as we grow in our relationship with Christ, how do we become better husbands, better fathers?
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of people that grow up with fathers in their life, but maybe their fathers are working so much that they pass in the evenings. They come in and kiss their kids goodnight, but they're not really present. Not because they're bad people or anything of that sort. It's just the situation that they're in. But as we grow in our relationship with Christ, and we grow in our relationship with our children and our spouse, then just by sheer metamorphosis, or whatever you'd like to call it, it will change your family.
Right.
And there's too many people that are growing up in homes that have no father, and your father can, or your mother can only give you so much. Mm-hmm. There's things that she can give you, but there's things she can't give you, because there's things that only come from a father. And girls, it's a fact that girls that grow up without a father figure in their life struggle with self-esteem. They struggle with having confidence. Mm-hmm. They're more susceptible to a lot of eating disorders and lots of different things. So as men, as we become better men, and we become more grounded in how we approach things, and we learn how to lead and be the leader in our family that we should be, that we lead by example, and that we love the way Christ loved the church, then the families will do nothing but benefit from that, for sure.
Yeah, and that's why I feel these are kind of building blocks. When you work on yourself and get that empowerment and learn how to use it and become a leader who leads with humility, then naturally the next step is it's going to spill over into your family life.
Sure.
And then the final being changing communities.
Right.
Right. So again, with that building block mentality, you start strengthening your family, and you start strengthening your relationship with Christ in some cases. And as you start to become aware of needs that are outside your own and your family's, naturally that's going to spill over into reaching the community, right?
Sure. And as your family unit gets better, and you become better neighbors, and like you said, you become more aware of what's going on around you.
Yeah.
And as you walk down the street, you look for people who maybe need some help in their life.
Yeah.
And as your family is strengthened, it'll be a natural byproduct that eventually your community will start changing. If you have 10 families on your street who have all made a commitment to Christ and are and are engaged with one another and are aware of what's going on in people's lives. And I'm not talking about being a nosy neighbor. What I'm talking about is noticing if you have an elderly couple living down the street from you and they're struggling to have their yard mowed. Well, you need to be aware of that. And if you see the need, then what do you need to do? You need to be the change. That's right. So I think that as men get better, their families get stronger, and their communities get changed because they become better neighbors. They become more aware of their community and how can we help to change our community for Christ.
Right. So along with those three guiding principles or tenets or whatever, the website also brings up the idea of fellowship, discipleship, and service as a means to bring about some of that, right?
Right. So the fellowship is important because it carries into everything else that we do. It carries into the discipleship and it carries into the service projects or the service to the community. And the fellowship is geared more towards just getting men together and getting them to connect and to make friends. And as you start connecting with other men and having friendships established, then it's easier to get into more of a one-on-one mentorship or a discipleship relation with someone. And we were talking earlier that if you have someone who's very introverted, it's hard for them to be involved in a group setting and really be involved in, because they're a little more introverted. They tend to be nervous about speaking out, and it's harder to share intimate things that are going on in your life with a group of men if you don't know them and the trust is not there. But as you start building one-on-one relationships with people, and then slowly but surely that morphs into maybe more of a group setting, and then that's where you start building the trust. And you can go from having fun somewhere, doing something with a group of men, to now more of a Bible study or a discipleship program or a mentoring program or leadership training.
Right.
And then that will be strengthened even more when you go out and do a service project and you think, wow, what a difference I was able to make in this person's life by giving 4 hours of my time on a Saturday, working with all these other men who have these different skill sets, and all of us pulling together, getting out of ourselves and really putting someone else's needs before our own will make a tremendous difference in your life and how you approach things.
Right. So fellowship is more of a, the way I see it, these are kind of like stepping stones almost, in that you start off with building fellowship, which is more or less an icebreaker. It gives us a non-committal way of hanging out and just doing things that guys do.
Get to know each other.
Get to know each other on a very broad level. And what are some of the things we like to do is for fellowship? What are some of the different things we do at Champions of Change?
Well, there's been kayaking.
Yeah.
There's been
Camping.
There's a lot of things we can do, and obviously some of the things don't appeal to everybody. Like a golf outing, that doesn't appeal to me. I'm not a golfer. But if you want to shoot weapons of mass destruction, count me in. I mean, I'm interested. So the fellowship is more about getting to know one another, doing things together to where you get to know people, and that you're not just hanging out by yourself. We talk about having a 2 a.m. friend, and maybe this is a little premature for that, but 2 a.m. friends is someone that you can call at 2 o'clock in the morning that if you need help would come and help you.
Right.
And I'm not just saying this. I don't think that I'm over extending my number here, but I think I probably got at least 20 men I could call at 2 o'clock in the morning that would come and help me. And I've talked to some men who say, I don't have one friend I could call at 2 o'clock in the morning. Right. And I find that to be sad. In order to have friends, you got to be friendly and you got to get involved. You got to get to know people.
Right.
And so I have a broad range of friends from every kind of background that you can think of. And it's important to fellowship. And I think the Lord in the last couple years has really helped me to understand what's important in life. And it's your family and it's your relationship with Christ, obviously, your relationship to the Lord. But it's really about family and about friends. And so I make it a point to just call my buddies or send them a text and just say, hey, just want to tell you good morning, tell you that I love you, tell you that I was thinking about you. Mm-hmm. And I remember 2 years ago for New Year's Eve, I did make a resolution. I just set a goal, and I told the Lord, I said, I want to be a kinder, gentler Jeff. Mm-hmm. And when I told my buddies that, they laughed at me. They're like, what? That's not my nature. If you get up in my face, my first instinct is not to love you in the name of Jesus, but that's what I want. I mean, I want that for me. I want to be able to love people
right.
Like Christ expects me to. So the fellowship is just really, it's a connection point.
Yeah.
To get your feet wet and to get your foot in the door. Right. And then as you do that, then your relationships with other men can grow stronger and you get to meet more people. It's pretty hard to have a lot of friends if you got one friend that you hang out with.
Right.
But if you got 60 guys,
yeah,
surely there's a couple of them that you won't offend or.
Yeah. And it's been my experience that men tend to be an island unto themselves, thinking that, they got to figure it out. Family's looking at me to figure this out and lead. And so they either just take a shot at it, struggle with trying to take a shot at it, struggle with trying to find a YouTube video that'll help them take a shot at it, or they just give up. So I do think that the fellowship is the first step in helping men get to know other men. And you start to find out that, you've got experience in that. Well, I'm trying to do this project and I have no idea. So,
right.
Okay, would you mind helping? And so I like those those times of fellowship. You get to know people and you get to know a little bit about what their background is. And it's just interesting, the diversity that is found in a group as we start to get to know each other. Absolutely. And the different diversity in the work life and the interest as well. So like you said, not everybody's going to go camping with us or kayaking with us, and not everybody's going to go golfing. And, there may be some axe throwing or whatever it may be. It's different things for different people, but you find out, there's different people in here we have interest with. Somebody may want to go on a fishing trip, for example.
Right.
Yeah. But those kind of things do allow us to develop those deeper relationships with people, so that when we throw up an opportunity to go through a book together on a topic, or whether we're going to have some kind of discipleship thing, then, you know what? Okay, I know these guys. I'd kind of like to get involved. And maybe there is that propensity to, drop my guard a little bit and get involved at a little bit deeper level and move into the discipleship.
Sure. Well, the good thing is it's a get to, not a got to. We don't try to pressure people in there. I mean, if you have to be involved in things. I mean, if you want to get to know people, you have to be involved in things. But you show up for what you want to be involved in. And if you're not interested, then you don't show up for something. But if you want to have friends, you got to be a friend, And so I'm excited whenever we have a event and we have a good turnout and you look around, you see men connecting and I tend to be people watchers. And so I look around and I go, oh, so-and-so's, that makes sense. I understand why those two have connected, because they're both computer geeks or whatever the case may be, or
watch it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but if you have 40, 50 men together, surely you can find someone that you have common ground with. And that's what it's all about, finding common ground, finding people that have similar interests or people that you feel like you can trust to share some thing that might be very difficult in your life or whatever the case may be. So just building relationships, what it's all about.
So obviously, it's one thing to set up a boys club, and here's a boys club, and here's some different things we do. But there is a purpose behind all this. And the third piece of that puzzle is service.
Right.
So obviously, there's a goal behind all this. There is personal growth and discipleship and mentoring and things like that that will help develop the individual. But to reach the community, getting into that service mode, how does the fellowship and the discipleship help us move into the service?
Well, number one, I think that if all you're doing is just getting together and having fun, then that's all you got is a boys club.
Right.
Which I'm really not interested in.
Exactly.
So I'm really interested in building relationships, and you build relationships through spending time together, doing things together, and then you start getting into service projects, and you think, here's a person, and I'll give you an example. You brought up the woman who we put a fence up for.
Right.
And the backstory behind that is she was out in the backyard with her dog, and it's a little dog. I don't remember, Chihuahua or something. It's a little dog. And someone had some pit bulls running loose, and the pit bulls mauled her dog in her backyard. And the dog survived, but it scared her to where she didn't even want to go out in her backyard anymore. I mean, she was afraid to go out in her backyard. She was a single woman who cared for a blind sister and had some health issues. And someone connected us with her, and we were able to go and put a privacy fence all the way around her backyard. And it was a big endeavor. It's not something that we normally would have done because it took way more time than what we would prefer. Yeah. But we were able to do it. And it was funny because some of her friends, as we were doing it, came up to her while we weren't there and said, "Man, you must have really got bad contractors." And she said, "Well, why do you say that?" "Well, they come in on a Saturday and they work 4 or 5 hours, and then we don't see them again for a week." And she said, "Well, they're doing it all for free as volunteers. This isn't costing me a dime." And that, along with an electrical panel that she had put in, she probably got $12,000 worth of services that didn't cost her a penny. And to this day, she still stays in touch, and she tells me about her going out in her backyard and being able to take her grandbaby out there with her dog and let him run over, and she don't have to worry about anything. Mm-hmm. And so all of those men, and there was probably at least 30 men that were part of that over the period of time that we were doing. And there were some people that helped dig holes, some that helped set fence posts, some that, set up the fence. But it made such a difference in her life and blessed her. And all it took was a little bit of work on our part. And the guys that helped do that got to know each other, and they got to see what it's like to be able to make a difference in somebody's life without a whole lot of effort on their part. Just everybody working together for a common goal.
So in essence, she became a champion of the Champions of Change as a result, because she has volunteered to share her story and let other people know about the relationship she had with Champions of Change.
And she would like to bring all the guys that worked on her fence over into her backyard for a cookout.
Yeah, and
to get to see people again.
Yeah, and as being part of that a little bit, it's just, you just cannot replace the feeling of stepping outside of your own needs and wants and desires and stepping into someone else's situation and helping them.
Right.
There's just, it's a very rewarding place to be, and it's humbling at the same time, but we certainly had a great time. I mean, we had fun doing it.
We did.
Yeah.
Watching somebody try to use that big gas-powered auger and dig some of them holes. Some people were getting slung around by it, and they'd hit a tree root. And, but it was a good time, and she was so blessed by it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as I see the setup of the different tenets, the empowering and as well as the fellowship and discipleship, all of that comes together to create a pathway to help lead people, no matter what level they're at, to get involved with Champions of Change and participate at different levels. But anybody who wants to can take a pathway through there that leads them into these deep, meaningful relationships and through these different service projects that help them then go beyond their own circle of influence into the influence into the community.
Sure.
So yeah, that's a beautiful thing within Champions of Change that I've been able to experience being a part of it. So what are some of the different service type projects that you do, and how can Champions of Change actually affect the community in general? And how do you bring, let's say, the resources, the manpower into those?
It really depends on what the project requires. Mm-hmm. The first thing we do is we vet the project. Mm-hmm. Just here recently, we went in and vetted a project for a gentleman in Inglewood. He's married. He's got some health issues. He hasn't worked in a couple of years because of his health issues, and his wife works 2 jobs, but he had some plumbing issues. Him and his wife had gotten a year or so ago, had gotten a new washing machine, and it was one of the high capacity ones that shoot a lot of water out at a very high rate of speed.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming his plumbing, and it was backing up and coming out of his drain tube and ending up all over the floor. And when we went over there, he had a shop vac hooked up to it. So when he washed her, he would turn his shop vac on.
Oh, wow.
And he'd had it hooked up like that for a year, and it was all taped together. But we went over and vetted the project and made a list of the supplies that we need. And because it's working in a smaller room, probably going to need about three people working on it. One of them, which is a guy who knows plumbing very well.
That would be helpful.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to go over and take care of that for him. But we're just looking for, yard work is people who are struggling. Maybe their yard has really gotten overgrown and they're on the verge of getting fines for, not keeping their yard up or whatever the case may be. And we have people that have donated stuff to us, and not Life Enrichment Center, Champions of Change has purchased some materials and some equipment. And so we would be able to go over and take care of something like that. So really, we'd like to have something that doesn't take more than about 4 to 6 hours on a Saturday afternoon.
Would it be fair to say that sort of like handyman type projects are more what you're after rather than bigger projects?
Well, it just really depends. Depends on the need, and depends on do we have the funding to buy the materials. We're primarily funded by just people who give contributions to the Champions of Change, or if you want to become a partner in it, then it's like $120 a year, which isn't much in the grand scheme of things. But we pay for all the materials, we do all the work, and it doesn't cost the people we're helping anything.
And if it involves going to the city for permits,
we try to stay away from that stuff, because if you're not doing anything that's major. You don't need a permit for stuff. If all we're doing is replacing a J-trap or P-trap or whatever you want to call it, you don't need, or if you're taking a toilet up and putting a new toilet in, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. But we try to stay, that can get too involved, and then you got to wait for the permits to get. Right. It's just, we don't want to get into all that.
Right.
We did have to pull a permit for the fence and that sort of thing. And it's, but that took place over months. Right. Because, you had to deal with the weather, you had to deal with who was available.
Availability.
You had to, dig the holes, set the posts. We ran into a bunch of tree roots, and you just have to, we try to stay away from those things if we can. We can be a blessing in other ways than taking on projects, biting off more than we can chew.
Right. Amen. So do you have a target audience that you're hoping to provide these services to?
Just people around the community. We like to have it by referral.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe someone who's involved with Champions of Change, or someone who knows of someone who needs help. Obviously, there's way more people that need help than what we can do by ourselves, unless we really grow this thing into several different chapters of it. And right now, there's about 70 men who are involved in different areas and different things. We have a group of 12 who oversee Champions of Change as the leadership, and then we have we consider that the core group, and then out from the core group we have people that are committed to helping and doing what we're doing, and then out from that is the community in general. So we just how can we be a blessing, and you know, if you know somebody that needs a little bit of help, just reach out to somebody and send a message through our website or call or whatever, and see what we can do to help. There's, you know, we have limited resources. We have limited people to do stuff, but we'll do the best we can.
Okay. So you brought up the website, so I think this is a good place to move right into that. If you want to know more about Champions of Change, if you want to know more about the details of who we are, the events that are going on, how to participate, if you want to give to Champions of Change and help support the ministry, the website is www.ohiochampionsofchange.org. And feel free to jump over there. A lot of what we discussed today was drawn from, is discussed and covered there in greater detail if you want to read through it yourself. There's also information about other ways to contact Champions of Change via phone or email. We are also on Facebook and Instagram. If you look for Ohio COC on Facebook or Instagram, you'll find our feeds. And one of the steady fellowship opportunities that we have available to everyone is meeting at Kava House in Xenia. Mm-hmm. You want to elaborate on that at all?
Sure. We just call it the Kava House Chat and Chew.
Yeah.
And we just show up there at 8 o'clock in the morning on the second and fourth Saturday of the month. And you don't have to, call and let somebody know you're coming or whatever. You just show up, and we just normally have coffee. And if they got food there, if you want something to eat, you can get something to eat, or you can. And it's very informal. We just show up and we have fellowship. We laugh, we cut up, we talk about serious things. Sometimes we talk about a particular scripture or whatever the case may be. But it's just really about getting to know people.
Right.
And I've reconnected with a lot of friends. I had a couple guys show up that I hadn't seen in literally years.
Right.
And we're always looking for new people to show up, and it's just a good time, good chance to get to know somebody. And because we're kind of spread out at these long tables, the people on one end aren't necessarily talking to the people on the other end. Everybody's kind of in little, just talking to whoever's close to you, unless someone gets your attention and just says, hey, this is something we want everybody to hear. But
yeah, and as people come in or out, chairs may shift a little bit. Conversations may change between people, who's talking to whom, and so on. Sometimes there's crosstalk. It's all good.
Right.
And we meet in the back of Kava House. In the back, there's an open area where there's a lot of tables and seating. So anybody who were to peek their head in at the front of the store would not see us.
Right.
But know that there is that back room. And, you'll see a bunch of guys sitting around. We pulled as many tables together as we need to.
Right.
They've got church pew benches there along the wall, and we just keep sliding the tables down and the chairs to match up. So
so it's a good time, and it'd be a good opportunity just to kind of see what we're about, and a very informal way to just connect with the guys that are involved.
Yeah, all casual conversation, no agenda.
Right.
Someone might occasionally bring a question that they would just kind of like everybody to weigh in on.
Sure.
Which those are fun to discuss. But most of the time, everybody's just chatting and chewing.
That's right. That's exactly right.
All right, Jeff, I want to thank you for being part of this podcast and introducing us to Champions of Change, how it came about, what it's all about, and just appreciate the opportunity to sit down and converse with you for a little while.
Well, it's my pleasure. It's something that's near and dear to my heart, and something that I really feel strongly about is just men connecting and building relationships with other men. And hopefully the next time maybe I'll have a little more energy and exuberance.
Well, the podcast was actually your idea from the get-go, right?
Yes.
So with that in mind, now that Jeff is up and at 'em and ready to sit in the chair with the podcast, Jeff will be hosting the next podcast if all goes according to plan. So, Jeff, we look forward to you sitting in this seat and me getting out of it. I do prefer to be on the other side of the camera and managing the lights and the cameras and such.
Well, you definitely have a face meant for radio. So.
Amen, brother. Amen. My mama told me that.
It's teasing.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and we'll see you the next podcast.
See the need, be the change. We are the champions of change.
But I did want to, I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to backtrack because I forgot to ask you. So, Jeffrey, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Jim.